Hey, hi everyone. This is Tahira, and I have with me Summer today. So we kind of thought that it's been quite a time that we haven't connected at Jungle Connect at the YouTube channel. We started this concept during COVID, and kind of it got repetitive. We used to do a lot of interviews, but to kind of avoid that boredom, and now we've thought that okay, let's relaunch this thing and we're going to discuss a lot of things, what's happening currently in the news, what's related to the industry, and what's happening in our organization as well. So welcome, Summer.
Hey, Tahira. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, as Tahira mentioned, last time we started, and I think the format became a little boring for me, especially. I don't know about users, viewers, sorry. So, I thought, it's makes sense. Let's just relaunch it in a new format, and
Yeah.
we'll just chit chat and, hope you guys like it.
Yeah. So, Summer,
So,
let's start. Like, we just had a town hall recently when you were here in
yeah.
India. And it was my first town hall because I have just joined the organization. It's not been much time. So, it was quite interesting for me to see. And also, you mentioned, that uh, सबके साथ सामने मतलब face to face, not virtual but real town hall was happening quite after a long time, so it was quite special for you as well and for the employees too.
Yeah. So basically, guys, I think it was our first live town hall in person after, I guess, 2 years and a few months. So it was obviously very exciting and special. But yeah, it was a bit very very explosive town hall also because we also, I guess I'll jump straight into that. That we decided that we'll be moving from work from home to work from office completely, with a few exceptions of people who really like new parents who don't have a choice but to take care of their children.
Yeah.
And it's just a few reasons, to be honest. There's a big debate in the world right now. Is work from home the new normal, which actually we all believed in for quite some time. But now what's
Yeah.
happening is there's a lot of like the other side of the story is also coming out. And we decided that we are not able to make it work, so we want to go back to full-time office, work from office, and then eventually see if it makes sense to come back to a hybrid model or something. But as of now, I think there is like, there are few reasons why it didn't work for us. The first of all, the biggest reason is right now there's just too much confusion in all teams, right? So everybody, generally, like, people would ask, so let's say if there is a meeting, at that point everybody is just scrambling to understand who's remote, who's in person, and who's coming, who's not. So it's just very very confusing. And people mentioned, a lot of people mentioned to HR that sometimes they think, they wake up and they try to think, okay, is the other person coming, should I go to the office, I want to go to the office, but like, there's a lot of confusion in people's minds, right? So when there is a lot of choice, there's a lot of confusion. And I think that was the first factor. Number two, what we realized was, with new people, right, especially people who were joining their first jobs, it was very very difficult for them to learn new stuff, right? It's just like, they come into an office, they don't know, who to speak for help, who to kind of go to for whatever, really. And it became very difficult for them to just get inculcated and get in sync with the organization.
Yeah, so there's a
So
gap somewhere.
yeah, I think, I guess you can always do it, like, and there are a lot of counter arguments to everything, that you can do everything remotely. But the fact,
Yeah.
I actually just, an hour ago I was playing, and I met an engineer who works on an oil rig remotely, sitting in Dubai, but the oil rig is in Iraq, right? And I was super astonished. So yes, everything can be done, but the reality is, people are going back to universities. 2 years ago we were thinking that universities are dead, right? But today universities have highest enrollments ever, like, in last how many years. So, and same thing, travel is coming back with a vengeance. Business travel is growing like anything. We are meeting clients. I've never had so many clients travel to meet me. And I don't think it's just about people wanting to travel after COVID. It's also it has a lot to do with the fact that it's difficult to do business without meeting and greeting. We are social animals at the end of the day, and especially learning, right? How do you learn? We learn by imitating. We look at a person who we kind of think of as our role model, and we imitate that person. So really, and that's not happening. In fact, I'm seeing so many people for the first time physically. I see, wow, man, this person looks completely different in person than from when I was looking at that person kind of
Virtual.
on yeah, virtually, right? So I think it's a sort of, and to be honest, it's like, some companies might be able to figure it out, but I think as of now we really need to go back to office, get sorted, get our things in order, and then maybe come back. And anyway, just to close the thread, I think the last point was that it was just unfair to very a lot some people. Right? There are like always some people who'll find a loophole in the system, and understand that because it's there, and there are certain people who are, like there are some people in the company who are just like literally working from 7 a.m. in the morning to 11 p.m. at night because
Yeah,
they don't know when to stop, right? And they're getting burnt out. It's important for them to understand that, guys, come to office so that you have like a fixed working hour. Like if you remember when COVID kind of just started out, right, and work from home started out, the first thing that happened was like people were working for eight, not 8 hours a day, but 12, 14, 15 hours a day, because they didn't know, like, what was the boundary, right? And some
true.
people are still in that mode, right? So it's also like creating a lot more burnout, lot more mental health issues for people. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason why we're going back to work from uh, office. And the only exception is, parents with the young children who don't go to schools. So we are obviously, going to make an exception for them. And there are obviously, going to be some people who have always been remote, and they'll be remote. But by and large, as a company, we'll be moving to work from office. And yeah, we'll move to a cluster office structure where we'll probably have more than one offices to make sure that that people don't need to travel quite a lot. But yeah, that's like an evolving situation. So
Yeah,
so
that's
that's,
great.
I
And I
think,
think apart from productivity, it's good for mental health also because you kind of gel with your colleagues and, things like that, chit
yeah.
chatting and all of that.
Yeah, I think, if you, I mean, my thinking is that, the best remedy to mental health is actually chit chatting with people. It's like, so yeah, I definitely think that it's going to have an impact. People might feel that it's a little, tough coming back to office, when you have to get back into, like, nobody wants to go back to school after vacations, right? But
Right.
if you think about it, like some of our best memories in our life are not really of vacations but of school, right? So I think sometimes we have to take a decision. For a lot of people, they might not like it, in the, like, who likes the parent who wakes kids up in the morning, right? But when they
True.
grow up, that's like one of the best habits, to grow up early, to wake up early, and to go to bed early at night. So I think
Yeah.
we have to do a little bit of parenting in some cases, and I guess that's what we are doing. So
And I'm
yeah,
sure we'll be thankful later.
hopefully, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, that's what I tell myself, but going so far. So
Okay,
yeah,
so moving on, there's bad news like kind of coming from everywhere.
yeah,
On Google, there's bad news everywhere. News in the sense that layoffs are happening in the tech sector. What are the new startups that started in COVID? Why are they laying off? Why are they having 3 rounds of layoffs? Just like 24,000 US tech companies have
mhm.
done layoffs, and India is also not behind. 12,000 startups, and there's a debate going on everywhere that Indian startups and US startups and tech startups are failing.
Yeah.
So why do you think, Samar, this is happening, and is this real? Is it related to recession? Is
It's,
it because of the
well, if you
recession?
look at Nasdaq, it's definitely real, right? So, uh, see, I think the reason for this is it's first of all it's very obvious to me, right? If you think about it, I mean, there was just so much money being pumped into such early stage companies who had no product market fit, who had no revenue, like barely any customers, and they were all like unicorns. Like unicorn is the new Series A, right?
Yeah,
And I was looking at a list shared by one of our ministers that we have like 105 unicorns today, and you'll be surprised. Five of those companies have actually shut down, right? In this list, and this is after those companies have shut down. They're still sharing that list, right? So basically, the marketing and the hype is so bad right now. I mean, for the lack of better word, I would say bad, that people just are not worried about the business models. Funds have far too much money to deploy, and the feedback I was getting from investors for like last 2 3 years was, you guys are too conservative. Like, what is 20 30% growth rate? And you need to grow at least 200% a year and stuff like that. Don't care about unit economics. And to be honest, I don't understand one thing. Like in B2B businesses where we are selling SaaS, right? It's not an impulse buy product. It's not like an H&M or a Zara where I can sell you something that you don't need.
yeah,
I can't sell you more space if you don't need it, or sell you more you know mapping solutions if you don't need it. But sadly, even that's what's happening. I don't really know how these companies are bloating their top line by increasing their costs. From what I heard, anecdotally, of course I can't name anybody, is that they were just like, so basically the modus operandi was simple, right? So let's say the cost of a yearly plan is say $100,000. You say, okay, I'll give it to you for $10,000, and that 90% will be covered in our marketing expense, right? So a lot of that expense and revenue is actually just an accounting game going on, which there's no real revenue, there's no real expense, right? A lot of that, not everybody is doing it, but a lot of them are
yeah.
doing it. And so now, and investors have known that all along, right? But when the next round was coming, the next fund was coming, they didn't care. And now when things have turned, so suddenly all the CEOs are being fired, and they were doing all the unethical things. Zillingo in Point, a lot of other companies where CEOs have been fired and stuff. So I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I genuinely think it's a tough time. It's going to be a tough time, but it's much needed, right? I mean, if you look at the ecosystem, it was getting unsustainable, right? The cost at which the talent is today, it is just impossible to actually be, or actually run a sustainable company or a profitable software company in India or US, with the cost of talent.
So
And
this is
I don't know.
correction happening, according to you.
Yeah, correction has happened already. I mean, see, like the way the correction happens is just very brutal, sadly. What
Yeah.
happens is most of these people don't get a pay cut. A lot of these people are just replaced by newer, cheaper people. And then when these guys get the next job, they'll probably get a, pay cut. I mean, I think that's how the market corrects itself. And that's what we are seeing, right? I mean, these thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who are being laid off are not laid off because there are no jobs, but because they're just paid much more than what can be sustainable. So,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, if you look at, so let's say Facebook, right? They're cutting so many jobs, but they're
Yeah.
hiring at the same time. So they're just, so let's say they let go of a person at 250K, they'll just hire a person at, 150K. So, I mean, that's capitalism for you, right? I mean, it's correcting, so it always overshoots first and then overcorrects itself. So right now it's just the overcorrection phase.
Yeah.
So
So this.
sadly, I think it's going to be a tough ride. But the good thing is, I think we were very prepared for this. I guess a bit over prepared, to be honest. We've been thinking of when the correction comes for the last maybe 1 year or so, and we have been very conservative, so to speak, which kind of was not a good thing at that time, because we were just being conservative, but most of
Hmm.
the industry was not. But I guess it's paying off well right now, because I think our costs are in control. We have always been profitable. We are doing fairly well financially speaking. I think probably, and we are looking at a few opportunities to acquire companies which, might not be doing so well. So I think it could be a strategic opportunity for us. So yeah, let's see how it unfolds.
That's nice. Okay, so now let's move on to our next segment, which is like where we talk about local commerce. So, what's new that is happening in local commerce? And we heard that a month ago, Uber and like the Switzerland government kind of wanted Uber to shut its operations because they were not like they were charging a lot of commissions from the drivers and they were not even employing them. So they lost their case over there. And when they lost that, the small entrepreneurs, the small businesses kind of saw an opportunity over there. We
Mhm.
also have a client who's into taxi business. So a new business has started, and like while talking to him, what he told me is like the drivers were not very happy with Uber and they're still not
Yeah,
very happy. So he has like kind of connected with driver unions, and he is now, because the demand is already there. So he's
yeah.
kind of, fulfill that now.
Yeah, so see, you're completely right. I think, the first biggest news is that Uber stock is hitting its lowest, right? That's always the headline news. But underlying, there's a lot of issues happening. Uber's business model is not making sense. Then nobody is happy from Uber. Like, drivers are not happy from what they are making money wise. People are not
People are
happy
not.
from the quality of service. And you're right. I mean, the fundamental, I think, issue there is that Uber wants every driver to be considered as a freelancer, while that's not the case if you're working 8 hours for Uber every day, right? I mean, this is simply not the case. And that's what the law is in most of the countries, that you can't just have somebody work 40, 50 hours a week and then classify him or her as a freelancer just to lower taxes. So I
Correct.
think that's what's hitting Uber hard. And in Switzerland, this first time. In fact, similar thing happened in UK a few years ago, where Uber was shut down for a few months. And I think it's a validation for our concept all along. We are seeing so much resurgence in smaller entrepreneurs coming up with taxi companies. And we at Jugnu, one of our biggest products is essentially giving a white label taxi app platform to entrepreneurs or taxi companies, who want to start their Uber competitors, so to speak. And of course, in the back in the day, it sounded very stupid that how could anybody compete with Uber. But today, when Uber is looking very vulnerable, it looks like very obvious thing to do for a lot of entrepreneurs. So if you see, we're getting so many people from Africa, Senegal, Uganda, you name a country, and we are getting like a lot of requests from people who are starting up. And a lot of these large enterprises, who have dominated a country for quite some time, say Tanzania and other places, Bermuda, smaller countries with higher per capita GDP, and even larger companies with a little more control over the economic licensing and stuff. So there, the larger enterprises are getting into taxi business by starting their own aggregating apps. And we're very excited to be actually in the right place, right time, to be
Yeah.
able to get them off the ground and get them live very, very quickly. And let's see, how Uber responds to them, because I'm sure, they are a very aggressive company. Total respect to them. They have completely changed the market, or created this market, I should say. But I still feel that, making a company based upon the where the only moat is capital, I think that's very difficult long term. So I feel that's going to be a difficult thing. They have to innovate, or they have to do things differently if they really want to be a global leader here. Otherwise, I feel, and I think that's going to happen anyway, is that local champions are going to take market from Uber, and Uber is probably going to dominate US as a market, and they're going to do well there. But I think the whole world, and Uber also probably has realized it, because if you look at Middle East, they've already kind of bought out Kareem and sort of slowly transferring their operations there to Kareem. Same thing in Southeast Asia. They've sold their operations to Grab. There are talks of merger happening between Ola and Uber. We don't know if they'll pass on Uber India to Ola, or the other way around. Whatever happens, I think things are already happening. But one thing is sure, it's a good time for us to be in this business, to be providers of platform for taxi business. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Good for small businesses and good for us.
Well, we have always been champions of small businesses, right? I mean, our platform is essentially, we call ourselves Shopify for on demand, right? And if you look
Mm.
at Shopify versus Amazon, it's always been, who can give the same platform of technology to smaller businesses that larger companies already have. So I think this recession is probably going to be the tipping point for those small entrepreneurs to take back charge. Because if you think about it, the overheads that a small entrepreneur has are very low compared to large enterprises, and they're much more nimble. So the only thing they're lacking right now is the technology, the right tools to do it. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tipping point for those people.
Yeah, right. Also, another cause that we contribute to is the environment. And in UAE, Motorboy is also kind of doing that thing. They've like shifted the delivery to EVs totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about it? Yeah.
Well, ironically or sadly, I would say what the world needed was a war to actually become more conscious environmentally, which is the real thing, because the prices of oil are so high that everybody now loves environment. And but yeah, it's, to be honest, I think at least this is a silver lining coming out of this war. And it's really sad what's going on. But the sadder part is that people don't do everything when they know that it should be done for the long term, but they just do it because the immediate cost perspective just makes more sense. So anyway, I mean, in fact, Dubai taxi, the RTA here, they just recently launched Tesla's taxi. So if you see, electrification in delivery and mobility space is going aggressive. And the big debate still is that if the battery technology is going to be the dominant player, or will the hydrogen technology take over. I mean, most of the Japanese companies are still betting on the hydrogen tech. I don't really know. I don't know enough to comment on that. But my thinking is that it's a good trend. It's good for environment. It's good for pretty much everything, right? If you look at uh, you know if, let's say, all of our delivery and mobility was electrified, right? Just think about it. Today, the biggest one of the biggest challenges is that when you produce electricity from renewable sources, right, it's very difficult to kind of manage it time wise. Meaning, let's say, you get solar power during the afternoon, when you might need it at night
Yeah.
also. And similar thing for wind also, right? So there are these things. So the moment electrification of mobility happens, it acts as a buffer for all that spare electricity, or for all that spare power to be stored in cars as batteries. So let's say, every house has like a large battery sitting in their garage, and they can give energy to it when it is surplus. So if you see Australia, California, already in the afternoons, the energy prices or power prices go negative, right? And this electrification of mobility actually has a very good side effect, that that peaks and peaks and troughs will actually be balanced very well. So let's hope so, and I think it's going fairly well, as far as trends show. But yeah, that's another thing that's happening, really.
Right. So, Samar, another thing that we are going to discuss today is on liquor delivery, the business of liquor delivery. So there was this news recently that a
Yeah.
state in India, Maharashtra, so Maharashtra government has banned the home delivery of liquor, which has affected a lot of businesses because during COVID the demand was quite high and the demand is still high as to what I know. So
Yeah.
like government has taken this decision and the businesses are urging the government to like kind of take it back. So what do you think, why
See,
is
liquor
it,
is,
what are the
yeah. So
reasons? be the reasons?
Well, see, I don't really know the reasons, but liquor is definitely one of those industries where the demand is always higher than what regulators want it to be. So if you look at Europe, it's just hyper kind of liberalized in terms of alcohol, liquor, and it gives a good chunk of, I would say, economy to those governments. But when you come to, let's say, countries like India, Middle East, liquor is very sort of controlled. I don't really know, enough to comment if what's the right story or what's not. But yeah, Maharashtra has, they had actually allowed liquor delivery during COVID because they felt
Yeah.
that it's going to be, much more, because every liquor shop had like 100 people queuing there, and it was creating a lot
Right.
of
Okay.
hotspots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But the odd thing is that most of the people who started their operations, they were just getting started, right? It's not like you start your operations, everything moves online, and then you shut them down and everything moves offline. I think that's not really, that's something that governments should understand a little better. That right now what's happening is all the companies. So, for example, AB InBev is our customer globally, right? And they had started a pilot with us in India, uh, delivering liquor in Mumbai first, and they had to shut down. They're looking at other states, and it creates a lot of uncertainty in the business's mind, so to speak. Whether they should go aggressive on something, whether they should invest, not invest. So I think whatever you do, you should like look at the economics first, and also not try to do a haphazard decision like some of times our governments do. Especially if you see like this region, right? The decisions are sometimes a bit arbitrary and fast, and I think that's something they should consider. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it gets sorted,
Reverse.
because if you think about it, right, there's so much smuggling of liquor, there's so much illegal kind of sale of liquor happening in India right now, that if you actually make it online and organize it properly, it is probably good for the government and people, because there's
And
so much
people.
spurious liquor being sold everywhere in India. I mean, there's this saying that more black label is sold in India than is made in the whole world, right? So all those things, I think we just can solve it using online channels of liquor delivery. Not completely, but it's a good start. So hopefully it will get sorted again. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, we have liquor is one of our fastest growing segments when it comes to new channels of or new entrepreneurship things that people are doing. So if you are, let's say, an entrepreneur in a country where there's no liquor delivery, keep an eye when and if it's legal there, you start it. I think demand is not a problem anywhere in the world. So so I think
Yeah,
we
last
are.
night I was also having a party, so we were discussing the same things that whatever we are drinking, we're not even sure that what is this. So I think
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think that's the thing, that's like, it's not a problem everywhere. I guess India is a bigger problem in this regard. But I feel that, especially for countries like India, where, there's so much, I would say, like, for example, there are two or three dry states in India: Gujarat, Bihar. You go to any
yeah,
of these states, you can get liquor easily, right?
easily.
Everybody knows it. And what's happening is, the yes, the government does not get taxes, number one, and there's much more mafia, much more crime, and all these mafias are controlling all the liquor delivery. So more you regulate, it's not actually lowering the consumption or doing any good to the society, but it's just increasing the crime and not giving the governments the taxes they should get. So I don't really understand what's the logic behind it. But whatever it is, I mean, unless you are like UAE, right? I mean, if they have a law, there is no way somebody can smuggle liquor here, right? So then you make sure that
You
you
have to be that
implement it.
strict.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
you have to be that strict and implement it. But here it seems they're just circumventing or creating laws so that somehow these mafias can get created. I don't know why that is, but That's what I would understand, as an outsider sitting who has no clue of what's going on the ground. Because, I just see two things. One, all the states which have banned liquor, you can get liquor easily. It's just more expensive, probably more, duplicate, or more, I would say, mixed or whatever it is. So what is it serving? Don't really know. But let's see how it evolves, and hopefully, uh, some good news will come out of this.
Yeah, let's hope for the best. And now let's talk about rapid delivery, this quick
Yeah,
commerce thing. It started off quickly and now it's looking like it's going to end quickly. Quick, like
yeah.
more quickly than it started off. So, delivery in 10 minutes, it's a nice concept, and I think people are in for it. Everybody wants things to be delivered like in the quickest time possible. So,
Mhm.
what has went wrong? It's a nice model. Matlab, I'll prefer that if I'm gonna get things in just like 10
See, as
minutes
a
or
customer, it makes a lot of sense, but at the
yeah,
same time, like, I think it just went a little too extreme, in my opinion. Right? I mean, the concept was good. Have dark stores, where you were safe. So you see, the how it started out was that you have these dark stores, so you don't pay rent for prime real estate, and
right.
you deliver. So basically you save on rent, and increase convenience for people, and sort of, so your delivery cost was supposed to be offset from the real estate cost, rental cost. That's how it started,
Hmm.
right? Obviously investors come in, they put some money on the fire, or fuel on the fire. And what happens is, now everybody has to compete. So how they decided in this case was, it started as 30 minutes, then it went to 25, then it went to 20 minutes, and eventually, I think it became to like it became a race, right? I mean, everybody, I know, like, so many people who were like always like ordering and seeing how much time is their bell ringing in, is it ringing in 8 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever. That was like a big thing going on, right? And all the
It had
companies were
become
like,
sort of a game.
it became a game. And across the companies also, that was the thing, right? Our average order delivery is, delivery is like, this Grofers guy, which became Blinkit. He pointed out one time, I think on Twitter, that, we did it in 17 minutes, but we're sorry, we'll do it faster next time, etc., etc., right? Those kind of things happen. I think it just got out of hands. The primary reason is that their burns were just crazy high. So if you look at, any other industry, the losses were always mostly on customer acquisition. But in this industry, the losses on operations were just way, way higher than the total revenue they were making. Right. And go to any like dark store. I don't know if things have changed now, but you go to any dark store, there were like 20 people sitting just idle in front of it, either waiting for deliveries, or just like waiting for an order to kind of manage or do the warehousing things. you know so I think this model was, the concept is good, right? It definitely makes sense. Why can't you deliver from stores which are non-prime? But the point is, then you have to look at your economics. You have to make sure that, things are done properly and sustainably. I hope that, so companies like GoPuff, which is, there's a chance that might go bankrupt, but there's a good chance that, some innovation will come out of it. So what could happen is that these companies say, okay, we don't need to deliver in 10 minutes, we can deliver in 1 hour, right? That's okay. We'll make it much more sustainable. We'll make it, logical, and they'll become like full stack grocery companies. I hope that, quick delivery does not vanish quickly, but it becomes like a more full stack grocery service. And there is definitely a lot of innovation there. We have so many customers in this space, and they are doing some great things when it comes to innovation. But yes, they
Right.
all have a pressure from their investors, from the customers, from
Yeah.
competition, to go faster, burn more money, get more customers, do more orders faster, etc., etc. I think if that gets sorted, it's definitely a good concept. That's my take on it. But I genuinely think, in fact, Pakistan's airlift also shut down its operations. It was I think the company that had raised the most amount of capital in Pakistan's history, which is very sad, right? I mean, it's a new ecosystem of startups being created, and I'm super bullish on Pakistan. Because I feel that we have very similar culture, India and Pakistan,
True.
and people there are very smart, very good when it comes to innovations. So, and startups can really, I mean, if you see economy, like Indian economy is getting, a lot of boom in Indian economies because of the startups and innovation
Yeah.
startups are doing. It's very sad that the largest company had to shut down completely. I hope most of these players pivot before they have to shut down or take those kind of decisions. But yeah, I don't know. So let's see.
We just hope the bubble isn't going to burst.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I just opened LinkedIn a few minutes ago, before our call, and there's a big article, how you can order a Maggie and get it in 10 minutes, get like a discount, and like basically eat a Maggie and end up making some money, essentially. And these kind of memes were popular in the last 2015 kind of funding boom. I think the idea is just play along. As an entrepreneur, you need to understand that these cycles are inevitable, but as long as your intentions are correct and you are constantly changing your model and not playing for the crowd, that could be customers, that could be competition, that could be VCs. If you are fundamentally able to change gears quickly, I think you'll build a big business out of it, right? Amazon came out of 2000s dot-com bust. A lot of other companies were funded, got their first investment, like Airbnb, Slack, were funded during the 2008 crash, essentially. So I think a lot of amazing companies will come out of this crash also. But as entrepreneur, you have to understand that, those party days are over. It's time to hustle and build stuff on ground.
Right. So every end leads to a new beginning. And
Yeah.
on that note, I think we can end our conversation over here, which was very insightful and very interesting.
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very nice, and I think let's just make this maybe like a weekly thing. Would be
Yeah.
interesting to discuss what's going on in on demand, and maybe we can start getting some questions from people and start answering those
Yeah.
also.
We would love
So
to, get comments from you on this video, and we would like to know what you want us to talk about. What are the issues you're facing? What are the challenges? Anything you would like to discuss with us, and we'll try and take it up in our next video.
okay, sounds good. Thank you, Tahira.